Hi everybody, welcome to my tutorial on how I park on full coverage. Today we're working on Furious Owl, as you can see up in the upper right hand corner. This is a new project for me. I am using my gridded fabric that we did in the gridding video. This demonstration is using Pattern Keeper, which is only available on Android devices. I will be showing another example of the same project on GoodNotes as well. So look forward to that one if you are an Apple user. The first thing that you need to do once you have your pattern in Pattern Keeper is you need to go into the settings up here in the top left hand corner, and then you will scroll down to the very bottom and look for the word shortcut. Right there on the bottom, you will click on shortcuts. And then what you want to do is when you're in markup mode, you want to be able to double click on a stitch to show that it is parked. So we're going to click on that. And you need to know where you start your floss. Do you start in the bottom right, the bottom left, bottom top? Where do you start your threads? I tend to start mine in the bottom left, so I have it right here marked as park thread in the lower left corner. So you would mark whatever you want yours to be, and then go back into your pattern. And now that we're back into the pattern, we're just going to simply start, right where you are. So first color is going to be, I'm going to hit the search button, which is in the center here, the little eyeglass thing, and click on that first one. And when you click on it, it'll highlight everything in that entire pattern that is that symbol. So if you're like someone who likes to do just one color at a time, Pattern Keeper would be a good program for you to use. I do work in a 10 by 10 grid, and I do my 10 by 10 grids in diagonals. So like this one will be the first 10 by 10 I do. I will then normally go to this one, and then this one, and then this one, this one, this one, and then there would be one here, so I'd go here, 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 and there. So you get the idea. That's just how I do it. That is just my personal preference. You can actually stitch them in any order that you like. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching the 452, and I will stitch all of the instances that it belongs in this 10 by 10 grid, and then I will park it below in this 10 by 10 grid. And by parking, what I'm doing is I'm just leaving it in the next instance in this 10 by 10 grid that it's going to go. So the very first time that it belongs in that second 10 by 10 grid is in the number 1 spot. So for me, since I start in my lower left, I will always park it in my lower left. And I will slow down the video and show you how I do that in just a moment. Okay, let's get started. Okay, now that those 11 stitches are stitched, we can go through and mark them off by marking the pin icon, which is the third icon on Pattern Keeper there. And we'll mark all of these off. Click the check mark at the bottom, and you can see that those are all now marked off. And I will now park it in that first stitch of the next 10 by 10. And I park in the bottom left because that's where I start my stitches. And I simply pull it through that bottom left because it's going to go across and make up that first stitch. And I just pull my needle off and that's it. You're done with it. You've just parked your first thread. That's really all there is to it. I will go ahead and do this entire square so you can go along with me and looking at Pattern Keeper, and you can, guess ahead of me of where it gets parked, and hopefully it makes sense to you by the time I finish this 10 by 10 grid. I will be showing you how to work in some of these park threads as well. So let's move on to the next color, which is going to be this second one up here. Oh, before I do that, you do have to double tap the where you parked it. And when you double tap it, you'll see I got a half blue triangle there. That tells me there is a thread parked there, and of course you can see what color it is. So, okay, now we're moving on to the next thread. Oh, and I forgot one. There we go. Okay, so that's all of it now, and the part is done. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do this square with the lines that go through it. It is number 3861. So I pulled that out. And I will go ahead and stitch all the instances of this little box. And then I will be parking it below. If you're looking ahead, you can see where it is highlighted. So where the first instance of that new highlighted box is where it's going to go. Okay, so that is the last one of color 3861 in the first 10 by 10 grid. So we will now park it in the grid below it in the first instance that it appears. And the first instance it appears is in the second row in the first column. So right below where we parked this thread. So let's just put it right there, bring it up, and pull your needle off, and you are done. You now have 2 parked threads. And then we would just continue on the same way. We mark all of those off that we stitched them. And double tap that we parked it. So now we have 2 half triangles with the blue half triangles in it in the second grid. And that indicates our 2 parked threads. So now we just move on to the next one that'll be up here. And we're going to hit our search button. And search. Okay, so the little thing looks like a push pin. So that is number 3743. It only has 2 instances in which it appears. And so we will stitch those 2 stitches and then park it below. So go ahead and look below to decide where you think it's going to be parked, and then I will let you know in just a moment. Okay, so those two are now stitched. So where we'll park that in the first instance, it appears in the grid below it, and it is going to be in the second row in the third column. It's one stitch over, two stitches over from the last one. So two, right here in the bottom left is where I start my stitches. So that's where I'm going to park it and take it off the needle. And you have 3 part threads currently. And now we will mark these two off as done. And double tap there to show that that one is parked. And move on to the next one. And the next one is this backslash. It's number 842. And it only has 2 in the top. And then we will bring it down and park it down below. So go ahead and look below to see where that's going to be parked, and I will be telling you in just a moment. Okay, those two are now done. So we will now park this in the grid below it. It will go in row 2, column number 4. So right below, right beside that one there, the one that looks like a little pin. We will mark those off. Double tap because it is parked, and move on to the next color. This one also has only 5 stitches in it, and then we will park it again below. In the first instance it appears, so go ahead and look at that, and I will get to stitching them. Okay, now that those are stitched, we're going to park it in the first instance that it appears in the one below it. That is going to be in the first row of column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just right there. And we'll take the... Okay, so somehow I have managed to lose the middle of this video. So we're going to continue on where I am currently. Nothing has really changed. I'm just a little further along than you got to see. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and start with the next symbol, which is this little half of a moon or pie or pizza, whatever you want to call it. And we will stitch the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this I had said before, but like I said, it got cut off. This actually is one of the ones that, if you look in the 10 by 10 grid below it here, there is none of that symbol in that. None of them are highlighted green over there. So you have 3 options. Option 1 is you can stitch the 11 stitches, or not 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. You can stitch the 6 stitches. You can tuck it under, cut it, and be done with it. That's your first option. Your second option is, because it is in this first 0 to 10 grids, you can park it to the right. This is the only time you can do that is if it's in the 0 through 10 right here. You won't want to do these to the right or these to the right or any others to the right, because what's stitched here gets parked there, so that you can't park over there because there's already going to be an instance of it probably over there. So I will tend to go down as far as 200, so 100, 200, and there is one of those symbols in this one. So therefore, that's where I will park mine. It will go in line 2, column 1. So I will park it right there. But like I said, however, if you want, you can park it over here in line 3, column 2. You can tuck it and cut it, be done with it, and then pick it up somewhere else. Or you can go ahead and travel all the way down here, which I had to do one other time, but like I said, that piece got cut off. So that's why I'm explaining it again. Okay, now I'll go ahead and stitch those. Okay, now that one I am going to park down 200. So line 2, column 1. There again, this one is like the last one. There is no instance of it in the 100 below it. There is next to it, and there is one down in the 200 below it. I again will park mine in the 200, and you can do yours as you wish. You can go over to this block here and do it in the row 2, column 1, or you can just cut it off and be done with it after you do these 5. Or you could do like I'm going to do and go ahead and travel it down here and then put it there. Okay, parking this in row 1, column number 2. And there we go. And mark these off. So this next one has just the one stitch right here, and then there's another one that is down at the 200 mark. Pull that a little bit down here at the 200 mark, and that is in row 1, 2, 3, row 4, column number 3. And I'm gonna just take a look real quick and see if it carries on. Okay, it does not carry on anywhere. So it also doesn't go to the right. So since it's just one simple stitch here and one simple stitch down there, I'm not going to park it. I'm going to do the one stitch, then I'm going to tuck it, cut it, and be done with it. There's nothing wrong with taking it down to the next one. I'm just not going to. Just personal preference. Okay, we mark that one as done and move on to the next one. Now this next one doesn't have any in the 100 below it, nor the 100 below that. Now 200 is really as far as I like to travel my personal threads. So since this one is in the 0 to 10 column up here, remember it can also part to the right. So since there is one in the one on the right, I will park it here. Okay, that one stitch is done, and I've parked it to the right. Okay, so that one is stitched, and we are going to park it below it in this square, and it is going in row 2, column 2, right between those two parked threads. So there we go. Another one parked. Mark it off. Mark it as parked. Okay, here again we have one that is not, it's not down below it, but there is some to the right of it. So I will there again park this one to the right. Okay, now this one gets parked in row 3, number 5. And then we'll mark those off. Okay, this one here again doesn't go under the first 100. And so if you don't mind going down to the second box, which is traveling 200, then you would park it down here. It does not have any to the right over here. So if you don't want to travel this far, just do the 2 stitches, tuck it, and move on. Tuck it, cut it, move on. I will be taking mine down to the end of the 200 block down here. It's in the last row, number 7. Those are marked off, and I have parked the stitch for it down here. I will be making some more grid lines, just so I have them already done ahead of time. So right now we're going to do the very last stitch that we have here. It is the star symbol, and the star symbol, let's see where it goes. It can go down or to the right. There again, your choice. I will take mine down. This is parked in row 6, column 3. Okay, now we have done our first 100 square. So there are 100 in this one all done up. So now we have some floss over here that are parked, and we have some floss down here that are parked. Now normally what I would go ahead and do is start stitching on this column, or this box. But today I am going to start here. It really won't matter which one you start with, but I want to start with this one because I want to show you how you work in these parked threads. There's only 2 on this one to show you, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with this one. Normally I stitch here to here. I'll stitch here to here. After what I mean by that is after I finish this 100, then I'll move to that one because I just like to go in my diagonals. It's fun for me. I don't know. And I like to start at the top. Some people like to go from here to here to here to there to there to there, you know, back and forth where they're closest to. There's no right or wrong way to do it, just so you get all your stitches in the right place. Okay, so now that we're going to start down here, I'm going to move the screen a little bit. Okay. Now, the way we deal with parked threads is we always work those first. You're not going to stitch anything that's not in here until after all of these are stitched and parked if they can park below. So the way we do that is we lift them all up, lay them over. I just kind of lay them over the end, and we take the very last one you see. So everything else is above it. You see how that is? Everything else is above it. None of this stitch will be above it. So it will all be below it. Okay, that one is the little circle with the line through it there that I've highlighted. And so it only has one in its 10 by 10 blocks. So when I need to park it, I will park it down here. It goes in the number 1 spot down there. Now where it was marked as a parked thread, you're just going to click on the pencil icon. Then you're going to click on it. It'll highlight the whole thing in blue or whatever color you have it highlighting in, and you hit the check mark and it marks it as done. And then double tap on the one you're parking it at and make sure it gets its half triangle. Okay, so now we work on the next one, which would be the last instance, which will be that one there. So I will pull that one down. That one there. And I will go ahead and stitch all of these in, and then I will park it in the box below it. It's going to go in row 1 in column number 4. Okay, so here my floss has just run out. However, I did make it through this entire square. So at this point, I'm just going to tuck it under the back, cut it off, and consider it finished. It will not be parked in the one below it. Okay, so now the next one we will have will be this one. Okay, now this one is going to be parked here, and it's a shorter thread. So if you don't like the dealing with the shorter thread, you could have tucked it, cut it, and been done with it. I think I could get 3 or 4 more stitches out of this little piece, so I'm just parking it. Mark them off. Okay, the next one is going to be the one that kind of looks like a balloon, I guess, floating up into the air. And it has 2 stitches, and then it will go in the 100 below it for 1 stitch. It looks like that's all it's going to be. So after that 1 stitch, we'll be tying it off anyway. So I will go ahead and do the 2, take it down, do the 1, and park it in that one. You see how all our park threads are slowly disappearing, and they're all going down into the next 10 by 10 grid. Okay, mark these off. Mark as parked. And the next one we have is the last one in the row 2, and then we'll go up to row 1, starting at the far end and working our way back. Do all these little squares, and we'll park it in the 10 by 10 below. This is a shorter thread as well, so I may not make it down there, and if I don't, then I will just cut another piece and finish this on out in the 10 by 10 I'm working on, and then go ahead and park it below. Okay, so right here I am going to flip it over, tuck it under, and start a new strand. And this is parked in row 1, column 3. Mark them off. So the next parked thread will be whatever was the last one here. Number, what is that? 5? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, number 5. So we have one in 5, one in 4, and one in 1. So we're going to park these last 3. And I think that's probably going to be enough for this tutorial. That should make you understand how I do the parking. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, that got parked in row 1, column number 9. Mark these all off. Okay, so now there are 2 left. Take the one furthest on our right. We will work in these. We got 2, 4, 6. And it parks below. So this one is getting parked in row 2, number 9. Sometimes you will have to move your floss around to find the hole that you need. Here we go. Now we're going to mark all those off. Okay, so everything that we had parked up here is now parked down here, or it had ended, whatever be the case for it. So the next thing you will do is you'll start back at the top, just like you were stitching regularly. You'll start and do these equal signs, and you'll do all of the instances of the equal sign. And you'll park it down here in row 1, number 8. And then go to the 4 dots. And the 4 dots will park down to number 200, which we don't have the square drawn yet, but you could go ahead and draw that square since you know that's coming up. And you could park it there. It's in row 6, number 8. And so you could park it there, which will be, right here, row 6, number 8. It's going to be over there somewhere. And I think that does it. The only other thing I did want to say is when you are doing full coverage, you do not want to stitch in columns like this. You don't want to do this one all the way down, and then this one all the way down, and then this one all the way down. And the reason for that is you can get what are hard lines right through where these stitches stop. So there are many ways you can avoid that. You can go over by 1 stitch every other time, like make this row an 11 and this row 10, this row 11, this row 10. So you're kind of feathering it back and forth when you do the straight columns. Now, just doing this one shouldn't be a big deal. But my next one I am moving over here. And then I'll go here, here, here. So I do it in the diagonal because you get to the picture faster. So that's why I do it that way, but by all means, you can do it any way you want. If you want to try to do all by rows, 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, go right ahead. If you like skipping around or uh, do complete color completing, you can do that too. Just don't make hard lines like this. This is not what you really want to do. So, okay, that's all for me for today. I will do another one of these, and I will be using these exact same threads, exact same pattern. I will have the grid drawn on another piece of white Aida, and I will be doing it for the Apple users who need to use GoodNotes, and I will explain how I also use this on GoodNotes. I do have this pattern on both. So, until next time, bye bye.